No, you just.
Says the Mishnah.
Actually knows how to stop the clock.
Sadi Gimel.
On the clock.
We're up to the Mishnah on Sadi Gimel on the days. Okay, we're in the sugya of kibbutz, the special halacha of kibbutz. Again, to reiterate, in Perik Vav, in Vayikra, you have a parsha that says, if anything gets spit on the beged, you should go ahead and you should cleanse it b'makam kadosh. So this is the sugi of kibbutz. Today we're going to discuss which kind of garments require kibbutz and such. Nitas ala or, right? Now it gets spitz on the skin of the animal. Actually, hushit before you skinned it. Ain't a toyin kibbutz. Then in that case, what? It would not really kibbutz. The Gemara is going to say, because in order to need kibbutz, you need something that's roy to makabel tuma without missing a malacha. Now the act of hefshit, obviously, guys, the skinning is a malacha. So until then, there's nothing to talk about. So that's therefore, since no hefshit, it's that garment would not require kibbutz. That or would not require kibbutz. However, misha hufshat, once it's skinned, toyin kibbutz at that point in time, it would require kibbutz, even if you didn't think about that what you're going to use it for, right? Even in other words, guys, let's discuss. We know that in order to makabel tuma, you need a gemar malacha until something's completed. Often, even if it could be used for something, if not completed, the machshava to use it, like let's say a hide, you can use a hide as a tabletop, as a tablecloth, right? You could use that. So anything that can be used that way is shaykh. So this Tana, the Tana Rabbi Yehuda says, as long as it's roy to have been mekabel tuma, even if it itself is not a kli, but it's roy to be called a kli. In other words, I don't need a malacha. Even if let's say you skin a hide and it's a little, how should we say, in a raw state. So if you want to fine tune the hide to make something out of it, you'd have to do a work. Yeah. If you want to just go ahead and throw it on an animal or throw it on a table, that's good. Your machshava to do that would create the makabel tuma, roy to makabel tuma.
Without
machshava, not. But since it's possible the machshava, that's called roy to makabel tuma. So that's what it says over here. With Sadik Dal and Omid Aleph, we're by the Mishnah. So once it's skinned, the ar toyin kibbutz, different Rabbi Yehuda. These are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. And even if you didn't consider it doing it, guys, but you could consider it, then it's possible. You would require kibbutz. Rabbi Elazar no af mishahuvshut ain't a toyin kibbutz. Right? Af mishahuvshut, even mishahuvshat. Stop right there. Even mishahuvshat. In other words, according to him, it's not machshava. You need an action. Says Rashi. Af mishahuvshat kol zman shlein netakin liyas kli. If you didn't do a physical action to go ahead and form it into a kli, ain't toyin kibbutz. Why does because Rabbi Elazar holds what the beinin davar hamekabel tuma, not something that's roy to be mekabel tuma. You need something actually that can be mekabel tuma. Guys, this is going to be the beginning of the daf. The difference between roy to be mekabel tuma and actually a kli to be mekabel tuma. Rabbi Yehuda says even if you haven't created that kli yet, since you possibility could have a kli that way, that's enough to require kibbutz. According to Rebbe Elazar, no, you actually have to do it. Not royal to be makabel tuma; it has to be makabel tuma itself. Shein mechusra afil machshava that it's not mechusra even machshava. In other words, even machshava alone is not going to be enough. That's the machloikas between the two. Now,
I thought said that piece was almost ready. If you can have machshava to put it and make a tablecloth out of it, then there's nothing else to do.
So not the rabbi. They would form different things. You can make a garment out of it. It's gemar malacha. Usually you can fine tune something, and that's usually it's the physical act that does it. It could the Mishnayos speak about that. Sometimes you don't even have to fine tune it, even just in machshava. So and that will be gemar malacha, but it's not actually usually. It's the physical action rather than the machshava. Rabbi Yehuda says v'balt is such a animal that would be able to go ahead and do it. That's enough to require kibbutz. But in fact, usually you do need some. Machshava is not enough. Usually you're going to use the leather for something more sophisticated than just throwing it on a table, right? As we'll see in the Gemara, we'll see nafkaminas between the two. We'll see nafkaminas between the two. Now, what requires kibus? Ain toin kibus ela makam hadam. You don't have to wash the whole garment. You just have to wash the place where the blood is absorbed. You don't have to wash the whole garment, just the place where the blood is absorbed. And in addition, Rashi tells us, even if it's mechusa machshava, as long as it's right in Mekabel Tuma, ubavashlei mechusa malacha, ustama Rabbi Yehuda. This is stam Rabbi Yehuda. This part of the Mishnah that it's roy for to Mekabel Tuma. For royal kibus, echad vas royal kibus. The Gemara will explain. Echad abeged ve'echad asak. Whether it's a beged, which is usually made from pishtin and or wool, ve'echad asak, which is goat skin, ve'echad or, which is leather, meaning it's hide of an animal. Tu'uni kibus, all these require kibus if they are megadim. Kibus b'makom kadosh. Where does the kibus take place? You don't go to the laundromat. It takes place in the Beis Hamikdash itself, right? It takes place in the Beis Hamikdash itself. I don't know where they and it has to be b'makom kadosh. So somewhere in the Azara.
Is that because the dam has?
Dam is a psul yaitza. According to the Ramban on the Torah, the reason why you need kibus, if you take the dam out, it will create a psul yaitza. Right? That's why it has to be royal l'srika avi. Once it doesn't require kibus. Once it's shaynish kandam. Once it's on the yisoid. Once it's on the karen. Yeah, inachnami. That's good for the point. Ushviras. Okay. Now in addition to kibus, we again the parsha discussed other things, right? Uklicheres asher tishvushalba, a klicheres that you cook in it. You got to break because whatever's absorbed in it can't come out. Then where does this take place? Where does shviras of the kli take place? Where does marika and shtifa of a metal kli take place? Where does that take place? That also says the Mishnah takes place in Makam Kodesh. Good. And finally, this is the chumrah. What's the chumrah? Kibus. It's going on kibus. In other words, we have kodesh kedashim. There's oila, there's asham, there's chatas. The chumrah of chatas, that the kibus exists by the chatas. It doesn't exist by asham. It doesn't exist by the carbon oila. This is the chumrah, and that last line is not going back on mrika shtifa. It's going back only on kibus, right? It's going back on kibus, not on mrika and shtifa.
When you take it out, where you dump it then?
Which
if you clean it.
If you clean it again, once you clean it, I guess once it's out already, then it's not.
You have to throw down these hose?
I don't know if you once you clean it. I don't know what do you have. I don't know if you have liquid. I'm sure if you. No, I don't think we're going. No, we're going to use side. I don't think so. No, I would not. I would say not. I would say not. Now, what did the pasuk say? Kol asher yigam ben basara yigdash kasher yizam midama ala beged asher yiza ala techabes b'machim kodesh. So it says, Minani Mili. How do you know the chilik between or that's hufshit and or that's not? Minani Mili, guys, is going back on leather. How do you know the hide that there's a chilik between hufshit and not hufshit? The Tan Rabbanan. It says kol asher yigam ben basara v'kiddush al ha-beged. Beged ainly ela beged. That would only be a beged, which again is usually pishtan and wool. Minayin l'rabbeis or misha hufshit. How do you know to include even skinned leather? Tamad loyma asher yiza alaha mechabes, which is that the lashon of alaha. Yachal shani marba or actually hufshit. I might think, but you would include or that is not, because Tamad loymar beged ma beged royal kabel tuma av kol royal kabel tuma. Dear Rabbi Yehuda. In other words, once the hide is on the animals, it's not right for anything. Guys, you may think. You have a hide on the animal. I'm going to use it as a tablecloth. Great, you can think whatever you want. If it's on the animal, it's not going to be makabel tuma because it's not roy to be makabel tuma. Okay, but Rabbi Yehuda says it has to be roy. So once it's hufshat, it's roy. Rabbi Lazo aimed beged ainli ele beged minayin l'rabbi sak. How do you know to include that's goat skin, the chol mine begodim and all types of begodim? Let's say silk or different types of and polyester. No, not polyester, actually. Talmud Asher Leh Techubas. So notice Rabbi Elazar uses Asher Leh Techubas since he says even there's no he says there is I don't need a limud to teach me that he holds even hufshet. So I don't need a limud. I don't need a limud for that. So he uses it to teach me, Yachshni Marba or Mishav Shat, Talmud Lema Beged, he learns this from Beged. Ma Beged, Davam Makabal Tuma, I've called Davam Makabal Tuma. So guys, we have Machlekes now. Guys, outside, we have Machlekes. Says Rabbi Yehuda, anything that's roy to Makabal Tuma, if you get an absorption of Chatas blood, Toyin Kibus, you need to go ahead and expunge it. You have to go ahead and launder it. Says Rabbi Eliezer, no, it has to be it itself roy to Makabal Tuma. My binayhu. So now, my binayhu is an interesting question because obviously there's a huge difference between them. There's a huge difference between them. Okay, I'm going to yell at this guy a little bit. Kaisala, shine, you say. Let's see Taisus. My binayu, guys. Rashi also says that it's clear in Taisus. My binayu towards the bottom. Pirish. Rabbi Yehuda al Korchan Iri Kra Bebeged the Eina Makabel Toma El Deroy Lakabel. Rabbi Loza Iri Kra Bebeged the Makabel Toma. Avo Bebeged Aroy Vein Makabel Loy Boy Kibus. So guys, usually when you ask my binayu, is we're looking for an afkamina and halacha between the two. We're looking for a working difference. We look, what's the difference between, what are they arguing in? We know what they're arguing in, right? He says royal makabel tuma. He says it has to be makabel tuma. Mashma, loit rebelaza. It could be roy, but it's not. In other words, it could be roy, but it's not. So we want to find a working example of where Rabbi Yehuda would say it could be makabel tuma. It's roy, and therefore you need kibus. And Rabbi Elazar would say in that situation it would not require kibus. So we want to know it's the case that it's speaking about a begel that's roy to makabel tuma. And now, right, the hashta is a beged who's there. A roy vein makabel. Okay, so where's the beged that's roy and it's not makabel? It's roy, like Rabbi Yehuda, and not, but it's not makabel tuma like Rabbi Elazar. What exactly is that case? It can be now, man. Okay, might be now. Amar Abaya, matlis b'chusa misholosh. Okay, you have a piece of patch that's pachas misholosh. Shlosh what, guys? I taught you this a million times. How you know it's his voice? Because shalosh is lashon zacha. Again, that's the rule of thumb. Shloisha tfachim, right? Shalosh it's voice. Because shlosh is that's the way to remember it. It's always the opposite. So now, this itself is not large enough to go ahead and have a shame kli, unless you're machshav it. In other words, let's say you're an ani and you have a hole in your pants, and you need to make a patch. So the size itself, you need shalish by shalish to be roy, to be makabel tuman. It has a shame kli. Anything less than that doesn't have a shame kli. However, if you machshav it, guess what? It gets the same kli. So late Rabbi Yehuda, what would it then be? Between kibus. Late Rabbi Elazar, no. Manda Amar Roy, Hanami Roy. Late Rabbi Yehuda, it's Roy. How's it Roy, guys? Because I could be machshav it to be used as a patch. I could be machshav it to be used as a patch. Hanami Roy. The boy choshev alaham. Manda Amar Dava Makabel Tuma. Hamil Lav Bas Kabule. It's not large. In other words, I need it to be, right? I need it not potential. I need it now to be roy l'kabel tuma. So that will be loy abaya. That's one working example of the machlokes between Rabbi Yehuda Roy and Rabbi Elazar. It has to be makabel tuma. Rava Amar. Rava says a different shot. Beged shechishav aleha litzura. It's a beged. It's a beged. But you know what? I thought I'm going to go ahead and embroider it, guys. The beged itself is roy to makabel tuma. It has the size, you can use it as a tablecloth. Good? However, you know what I think? I think I'm going to go ahead and embroider this tablecloth. So what would you say outside? Light Rabbi Yehuda, v'balt it's roy to makabel tuma, right? Now, the only way to is machshava. It can be night. Manda amar royhu nami roy. Now, guys, look at me, please. Light Rabbi Yehuda, if I have a tablecloth and I have a machshava to go ahead and embroider it, would he hold its makabel tuma? Listen, Loi Rabbi Yehuda, I have a tablecloth but I'm thinking I got to embroider it. Even Rabbi Yehuda, we might, it's not Makabel Tuma. It's not a Gemar Malacha yet. But guess what? Let's say I change my mind. Let's say I say, oh no, I'm not going to embroider it. Loi Rabbi Yehuda, then since Machshava can go ahead and take that off, then it'll be right. Then it's right.
If you change your mind, would it be?
I don't know. I don't know. Probably not. I probably at this. It has to be at the time. But again, I don't know offhand. But Ikiminai, right? Ikiminai, Madi Amaroi Hu Nami Roy. The boy Mevatale Lamachshavase. So good until he does the actual embroidery. Everyone holds not Makabel Tuma. But since his Machshava could take that off, therefore you need kibbutz. Manda Amadava Makabel Tuma.
Oh, go ahead.
Global
Take your time.
trouble. Something don't change.
You think he doesn't know that there's, there's something, a little button you push down. Okay.
Who's the shoe from?
Guys, we can go ahead. Oh, no, that was me.
They give me Namadi on Roy and I'm Roy. The boy inviting the Machshavase. Man dama dama kabel tuma. Hashtami Allah bas kabel tumahi. Now, Rava Omar, you might ask a question. Did Rava just speak, guys? So if you look at the side, it says Ikadi Army, Aleph Dalet. Ikadi Army Rava Omar. Utzva the choshev lekatza. It's a spread for a table, but you machashev to go ahead and cut it. You're going to cut it. So Rava Omar, Rava Ikaminar, Madi Omar Royahu Nami Rui. It's Roy because you thought about cutting it, and as long as you didn't take that off, it's going to be Makabel Tuma. Mandama Dava Makabel Tuma, Hai Labas Kabula Ad de Katzina, until you actually cut it, and therefore what? That will be the difference between the two. Okay? Avatanya, this is a raya. Reb Shimon ben Menashe Omer, Utzva, a spread, a tablecloth. Shechoshev alei lekatza, you thought about cutting it. Tahira, it's tar achi katzena. In other words, since I had this machshava to cut it, it's not a gemar malachi yet, and therefore it might be right makabel tuma, but it's not makabel tuma. So we have three machloikas. Later Baya, we have the patch that's less than 3 etzbois. Late Rav in the first lashon, we have a tablecloth embroidered, and late Rav in the second lashon, a tablecloth that for kaitza. Again, it's always the same yisoid. Late Rabbi Yehuda machshava makes a roy, and late Rabbi Lazar, you need ma'isa, you need actually to be makabel tuma. Okay. Now we said ein toyin kibbutz. Okay. What's it going on? It says the Mishnah. Ein toyin kibbutz el makam hadam. Right. Only the makam hadam. And okay. Says the Minani Mili, Torabanan. Yachal Nita al Mitzas Beged. I might think if it spritzes on part of the Beged, I might think Yehikola Beged Toin Kivus, Tamadlaima Asher Yiza. It says Ayiza Midama ala Beged. Asher Yiza Leo, the repeat of Yaza stresses just the place of Hazah, just the place where it got spritzed. Since it says it twice, just the place it got spritzed. Le'amati Lecha. I only told you to place the dam, so only that place. You don't have to watch the whole beged. The Mishnah said, "Dava that's royal makabel toma." The Mishnah said, "Dava should royal makabel toma." And what does that? What does that mean? That's the lashon of Rabbi Yehuda. Sasmak Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, because Rabbi Yehuda says roy. Rabbi Lezer says you need mamash to makabel toma. Royal kibus. The Mishnah said. It has to be something that's roiv to be washed. The mute kli the bar geridahu. Let's say it gets absorbed in a piece of wood, guys. Let's say the blood gets absorbed in a piece of wood, right? You can't wash it out. You have to scrape it out. So that would not require kibbutz. Kibbutz has to be in something that's washable, not in something that is scrapable. Echad beget sach. Or. So now the rest of the daf we're going to explain about or. We're going to be going about or itself, about leather. Okay. Now the Mishnah says that or you go ahead and you're going to wash. If the dam of the chatos gets in there, you have to wash it. L'neima, you mean to say the or bar kibasu? You meant to tell me the or is something that's washable? Urimino alias yustira, and this is speaking Linyan Shabbos, guys. This is speaking Linyan Shabbos. So again, the premise is that or is you can wash the blood out of or. Okay, now. Hoysa'alaha lishleshes. You have on you have on a beged. You have some tsoya. Mekanchu bismartut. You can go ahead and wipe it off with a rag. Hoysa shel or. If it's on or, nois mayim achetichla. You can put water until it's off. So 1 second. You told me that or is the bar kibbutz. Now you're telling me that's what it says in Zevachim. And in Shabbos, you seem to be telling me that it's not, because Malabain, guys, is one of the Easter Shabbos. Going in and whitening the wool was was of his malachas. So how in the world would you be able to, if or is a beged, how would you be permitted to go ahead and wash it? Right? So you have a stira from the Mishnah in Zevachim to the Mishnah in what? In Shabbos. I'm going to buy kasha. Ha Rabbanon, ha Acherim. Our Mishnah is Acherim. And the Mishnah in Shabbos is the Rabbanan. So again, the Rabbanan are going to hold or is not washable, and the Acherim are going to hold or is washable. Shabbos says or is not washable. That's the Rabbanan. And our Mishnah is the Acherim. The Tanya habeged v'hasak. You have a beged. Again, that's semro pishtin or sak goatskin. Mechabsoi hakli, mechabsoi hakli, and v'or megaroi. That's so you see, or is hakliva. Excuse me. Habeged v'hasak mechabsoi hakliva or megaroi. A kli and or you megarer. So obviously the Rabbanan hold that or is not washable because he says megarer, you scrape it. Acherim Roman no. Habeged ba'asak ve'or mechabsoi v'akli megareroi. No. So he holds the Acherim hold that what? That or is washable. So our Mishnah that says it's washable is the Acherim, and the Mishnah in Shabbos that says it's not washable is the Chachamim. Okay. Kiman os lahodom Rav Chia Barashi Simin Sagi and Havi came to Kamei the Rav. The times I was in front of Rav, v'shich sheich le misane b'maya, and he was rinsing his shoe b'maya. Now his shoe is made of leather. It's made of leather, and obviously it's Shabbos, and he's washing it. Who would that be? That would be the Chachamim, because the Acherim say you can't. Again, Zevachim, Acherim, Shabbos, the Rabbanon. So if Rav is washing a shoe on Shabbos, and the shoe is made of or, so it must be holds like the Rabbanon. Keman ki Rabbanon. Fred the Gemara, Amarava, Umi ikaleman da Amar or lav bar kibusu. Is anyone who would say that or is not a bar kibus? Foksiv. That is speaking about a tsaras and a beged, guys. But it say beged or yashli or erev or kol kli or asher tekabes v'sor mehem anoga v'chubas shenis v'toher. So this is the tsaras and a beged, and it says or, and it says you wash it. So what do you see? Everyone has to hold or his skin is washable. It's a mefurish a pasuk regarding tsaras that it's washable. So how can you tell me the Rabbanim would disagree and say or is not washable? You see, we have a pasuk. So the pasuk, apparently that pasuk in by tsaras agrees with our Mishnah in Zevachim that or is washable. Ella Amarava Kro Umas Nisan Birachin. The pasuk in by tsaras and our Mishnah is speaking by soft, meaning everyone is made that soft leather is washable. So we're giving a new teretz, guys. Now everyone is being maida that what? That soft is washable. Ki pligi, when's the machlokes in the acherim and the chachamim is bekoshen, where it's hard leather. The other chachamim say it's not washable, and acherim say it is washable. Good. So again, we're going to touch up. The pasuk by tsaras is speaking about a soft beged. So now let's go over Astira. Astira Zevachim, yes, washable. Shabbos, not washable. Our Mishnah is also speaking about soft. Our Mishnah is speaking about a soft beged. Soft beged, everyone holds is washable. Where is the machlokes by Shabbos? That's by hard beged. That's the way we learn right now. Now, guys, the concept is very funny. When the Torah says washable or, you're going to tell me the Torah, you're going to set sign on Nukimta? Fellas, when we say all the years, Zet sign on Nukimta, what does that mean? We'll say it's speaking in a specific situation. The Torah doesn't speak in specifics. The Torah speaks, if I tell you washing or, it means all leather. You can't just tell me it means soft leather, guys. It means all leather. To explain the Torah Shabbat Peh, to explain the difference between a Mishnah and a Brisa, that you could go ahead and say what Zet sign is speaking in this situation. To go ahead and say that to say that a pasuk is speaking about a situation, that you can't do, and that's going to be the next kasha. So they're arguing because V'amar Rav Chia Zimnin Sagian Havikim Nekamei Derav V'Shich Lo Misani B'Maya, and he was going ahead and he was shaking his shoe b'Maya. Now Rachin, you're saying everyone says it's asa. So how is he able to go ahead? What? I guess a shoe, guys, is considered soft leather. So how is he able to do this? So as it says Gemara B'Koshen Ukerabanan. It wasn't soft leather; it was hard leather like the Rabbanan. It was hard leather like the Rabbanan. So therefore, that would explain this situation. So right now we're holding good. Our Mishnah is speaking about soft leather. The pasuk is speaking about soft leather, and the machlokes is by hard leather. And that's the machlokes that presented itself in Masechta Shabbos. Had Amar Rava. Rava then said, "No, this is not working." Lav milsi the Amri. Neku name likra. No, he went back. He said, "I'm going to zetzayin the pasuk the chikasvina berachin ksiven." Milo yaskin, and can't the pasuk be speaking that the tzras what? No. Which part do you think we skipped? Where are you? I think we did that already, Avi. No. Had Amar Rava. To say that the pasuk speaking about only soft leather, it doesn't make any sense. Milo Yaskin cannot be speaking Bekli Achsal Ligia, which is a hard leather. Haboyim Medinas Hayom, the Kamar Rabban Niboy Kibus, for Tziras, you have to wash it out. So L'chaira, that then the teretz I gave you is not a good teretz. You wanted to say it's dafka. In other words, how could now the question is umi ikka, anyone who says that or is bar kibus. Here's where you interject there, Ravavi. Now everyone would say an or is the bar kibus. Why? Because the pasuk says it. Because the pasuk can't be uniquely speaking only about rachin. It has to be speaking about what? Also caution. So we're back to the original question. How could the chachamim say that what? That you can't wash it? How can the chachamim say you can't wash it? El Amar Rava. Saras, kivin de mikufa kaparcha, mechalcholei umashvalei rach. The teretz is a good teretz. It's a good teretz. Yeah, guys, the teretz is a good teretz. If it's soft leather, you could wash it. You know what the pasuk's speaking about? It's speaking about saras. Even if it's a hard leather, the saras itself is going to soften it to make it a bar kibus. Let's keep that teretz, guys. That teretz is viable. We're keeping the teretz. Machlokes is by hard leather. The pasuk speaking about all kinds of leather, and our Mishnah speaking about soft leather. The pasuk. How then is it washable if it's all leather? Because the hard by tsaras becomes soft. The hard by tsaras comes soft. Umashulach Amar Rava. However, kashali hakashali. You want a kasha? Here's a kasha. Amibay. Korim v'kistos derachaninu. You have mattresses and pillows. Cushions, the rachaninu, they're soft. V'tanan, and now what do we say? If it's soft, that you need kibus, right? V'tanan, hoisa shel or, noisnan ala mayim, ad shetichla. If it's or, you can pour water on it to what, right? You ad shetichla until it's washed. So what do you see? You see. So, but this is so you see that what the rachaninu v'tan hoisa shel or noisnei mayim achetichla. So what you see that it is washable. You see it is washable. So but didn't we say or is didn't we say that soft is washable? Yeah. Yeah. So what's the kasha? What? The tnan hoisa shel or noisnei mayim achetichla. Why? Because it's not shaykh kibus. Oh yeah, it's speaking in Shabbos. Excuse me, guys. No, I was speaking about kibbutz. No, we're speaking about Shabbos, right? So if or is washable, you should be over Chil Shabbos. If or is washable, you should be over Chil Shabbos. Yet you see that what you're not, and it's a davarach. So we're questioning your whole premise that something that's rock is washable. You see that what? That it's not. Because it was washable, how in the world can what? On Shabbos, how can you do it? Ella Amarava, Kol Kibus, the less like Kiskus, Loishme Kibus. Anything that you do not go ahead and rub together, right? If you have, guys, what do you do rub together? You have something like this. You go like this, right? We do like this. We rub it together. So anything that you do not rub together, Loishme Kibus is not considered Kibus. Therefore, on the Karim v'kisleis, when not something you can rub together, you're able to go ahead and put mayim until what? Even though it's rock, you'll be able to put mayim on it. Why? Because this is not something that you rub together.
But the Lashon says no saying aleha mayim. It doesn't say. It says you just put water on it. It doesn't say rub.
Right. You're not. You can't. You don't rub it. El amarava kol kisses less mekibas oish mekibas. Aye. V'hodom Rav Chia bar Ashi zimnin sagin avikim nekamei derav v'shichshech lei misane b'maya. So and he shook it. Says no shichshech in avol kibas loy. Right now shichshech in dafka shichshech avol kibas not mashma, you can't wash it. Guys, mashma you can't wash it, right? Why not? Iberachin ukedivi akol. Either it's rachin according to everybody. Ibekoshin ukeacherim, or it's like it's hard leather and according to acherim. So you see that as long as you're not meshachshech, it's what as long as you don't wash it and rub it together, you're okay. Ihachi, as long as you don't rub it together, it's okay. Beged nami, a beged also, and we said that what a beged you cannot, you can't put water on a beged. So why do we say mekanech b'smartut? Guys, going back to the Hill for Shabbos, right? We said if it's on a beged, what do? You wipe it off with a rag. But if you're telling me as long as you don't rub it together, leish make kibus, why not? Guys, if you're telling me that as long as you don't go ahead and rub it, it's not a problem, so why do you have to go ahead and wipe it away? Why don't you soak it in water? It says the Gemara, beged shuyusay kibusay. A beged, when you don't even that you don't have to rub. Shuyusay, a beged, it's soaking it, that's its kibus. And Rabbi l'tamei, Dama Rava, Zorik Suda l'mayim, if you throw a suda, a handkerchief, or some type of turban, which is a beged, into water, chayiv, you be chayiv from malabe on Shabbos. Zorik pishtin l'mayim, if you throw pishtin in, chayiv, you chayiv, and mashma you chayiv for what? For zareya. Now bishlei masuda of a kibus, elazera pishtin my timer, why are you chayiv for flax seeds? The chitem mishum mikadach, because it sprouts, and sprouting would be a told of what? Of zareya, yihachi, chitiv sarinami. So what are you limited to pishtin? Even chitiv sarinami, you put wheat kernels or barley kernels, barley whatever, you throw in. It says the mahanach pishtan islay riri. They have riri. They have like kind of substance that comes out and it goes there, and it gets stuck together. So as we're going to see, it's a told of lush. Shalchayim nami. Shalchayim literally means a hide. So if you look at Taisus, because putting water in a hide, it's not much, but something's going to come out. Look at the second Taisus, the first Taisus. Yihachi shachlayim nami. Harav Chaim garis shachalim. He switches around the ches and the lamed, which is cress, which is a vegetable, not a. I think it's called a slunk. What's called a slunk? What's a hide? Is a slunk.
It's not.
So it seems the hide, when you put in water, nothing comes out of it. So Taisus says a problem. We need something kind of out of it that would go ahead and bind it together. That's what we're answering. We're answering that the zera pishtin is bound together. So therefore you chayiv for binding. So, and that's the difference in chitim sarim. It doesn't bind together. Says the Gemara, if that's the case, shachlayim also you should be able to put in the water. Hasam kavid lisha. They're what? They're by shachlayim, it's not shaykh lisha. It's not shaykh needing. Mashain came by zera of pishtin. It is. Darsh Rava mutal chabis minul b'Shabbos. Mutal to wash yishu on Shabbos. Amle papal Rava. I've Rama Chia bar Ashi. Zimnas agin avikim the kamei the Rav v'shichshlei misane b'maya. He shook his foot in water, his shoe in water. Shishachin avol kibas loy, shaking it in water, yes, but washing it not. So Hadik Rava Amaroy Leha. Rava then told the Meturgman to come back. The Darish and he dashed in Barabim. The Dvarim Shemat Lefnechem Toyasem. The Dvarim should I went ahead and dashed in front of you was a mistake. Bram Kachamu Shichshech Mutter, to go ahead and shake it in water by his mutter. Kibus would be asa. Okay, we said kibus has to take place in Makam Kaddish. If you go ahead where in Makom Kodesh Menani Mili to Tan Rabbanon, it says the Chabes b'Makom Kodesh. You can't get any more clear than that. The next halacha is Shviras Kli, breaking a Kli Cheres. Shviras Kli Cheres not Menayin. How do you know it has to be in Makom Kodesh? How do you know? Talmud Loima, the pasuk says, "U Kli Cheres Hashet Tavush Labai." For those who are on the screen, you have it in front of you, right in front of you. For those who are not on the screen, you have it on your phones, but you're not going to get there. So just listen. Sorry, Yigdash Asher Yizumi Dam Ala Beged. Okay, it says Makom Kodesh. In pasuk Chaf, it says Makom Kodesh. This vav in Chaf Aleph connects it, so that also has to be Makom Kodesh. And then the Imbikli L'Chayshes Mikashtia, the vav connects it back to that also be Makom Kodesh. So therefore, let's see it inside. Ukli Cheres Shadavushalma Yishava Mika Shtifa Bekli L'Chayshes Minayin Tamaloima V'Im Bekli L'Chayshes Bushala Umarik V'Shayta V'Mayim. Zevachim B'Chatas. We said this is the chumrah of Chatas over other Kodesh Kedoshim. What's the chumrah? That it requires kibbutz. That requires kibbutz. For suleka, that's the only chumrah that it has. For ikka shenichnas dama lifnim, right? Don't we have the chumrah that a chatas panemius, guys? We know by Yom Kippur, we know by Helam Davach, Kamashiach, you have a chumrah that the dam goes inside. Says Gemara bechatas chitzonius. Shem nichnas dama lifnim psula. We're dealing with a chatas chitzonius, that if you bring the dam in, it's puzzle. And so l'chayra Rabbi Akiva dama kol dam shenichnas leichol l'chapa psula shkem b'chapa l'chabe krisus. So says the Gemara that we have a kasha. Anything you bring inside is puzzle, right? Not only you say chatas is puzzle, so that's a chumrah chatas, guys. A chumrah of chatas. You're right. Chatas chitzonis you bring inside is puzzle. It needs kibbutz, and you bring inside is puzzle. But if you bring in any other carbon, it's not. What's the answer? We hold like Rabbi Akiva, who holds that anything. Rabbi Akiva dama kol damim shenichtus leichol chapa psula. Why? She came mechapin al chayve krisis. That chayve chitis. Fred the Gemara bechatis shmias kol. She came chatas shmias kol. It's not chayve krisis, and yet it's so you have a chumrah. One of the oil of if you go ahead, if you make a shvua that you don't know edis or levatas bisvasayim, and there you're gonna have to go ahead. You're not chayiv karis yet. There's a chumrah that dam goes in. It's gonna be possible. She says, "Well, she can't tell you now about matanis, right? That you need 4 matanis, right? Rabbi Yishmael, dama kol dama tunin dal matanis adal kwanis. Ultaimecha ikka keren, ikka etzpa, ikka chuda." So in other words, there are many chumis. Elachad mitrei tilsa chumei nakat. One of 2 or 3 we learned, but Einachinami is more than just what kibbutz. There are others. There's keren, but we just learned a few.
Need one?
I think we need one.